Now we are going to focus on the job opportunities in one of the important software development area called testing, application testing. So there is a business. The business wants certain things. So they are called the requirements. These requirements are picked up and a team of technical people develop and the software is ready and they give it to the developers. But before delivering it to the developer, the software team, the technical team has to make sure that the system does the work that was intended for. So there are some requirements given. The technical team has to ensure that it has been done. So for testing whether the required features are there in the system, there is a team, there is an independent team who works and checks whether all the features are satisfied. So that is called the testing team. So this team does the testing services. Whether the technical team has developed something, so this team will verify whether that is a fit for business. After testing independently, we will deliver it to the customer. So that is why this is called independent validation and verification services. Independent means the technical team has developed. This is independent of the development team. These people are not core developers. So they are just testers. So he said that if I give this must be the output. These people will verify whether that happens. So that is what is the work of the independent validation and verification services team, IVVS. So let us see what is application testing. What is application testing? Make sure that the application developed meets the requirements. So there was a requirement given by the customer. The business people wanted the system for the following things. So they are called the requirements. So that requirements must be met by the system. So make sure that the applications developed meets the requirements. The requirements are both functional and non-functional requirements. Functional means the functionality. For example, you are developing a software for loan management. So in a loan management system, when there is an end customer who wants loan, when he wants loan, he must be able to enter his details and save a profile. So you give all the details and save so that it is internally saved. Then it will process everything and find out and other things. So initially, the loan customer details must be saved in the database. So that is what the customer has given as a requirement. It's a functionality. If you enter everything and click save, it must go to the backend. It must be stored in the database. So that is a functional requirement. If I want this, that must happen. That is called the functional requirements. There are non-functional requirements. Speed, for example. When you enter all these things and click, it should immediately save it. If it takes 5 minutes, then that is not possible. For example, at the same time, if 100 people from 100 different places enter the data, they must be saved. So the load must be satisfied. So they are called non-functional testing. So that is why in testing, there are two important classifications. Feature testing or functionality testing and non-functionality testing. Non-functional testing may be speed test, load test and so on. This is how we define application testing. So in order to understand the functional testing, in the left side, see the requirements are all listed. There will be a requirement document. Now the testing team will pick up the requirement document and for each of the requirement, they will write something called test cases. So test case writing is an important activity of the testing team. So they will write saying that test case number 1, user will give ABC as the input and we must get the following output. The data must be stored in the database. So this is a test case. After writing the test case, you must test it. So test cases are written and we must test. If it passes, make a tick mark. If it fails, no. Then you give it back to the developers saying that, look, this is passed, but this is failing. Then they will look at the code, why it is not happening. So that is how the relationship between development team and the testing team happens. So the testers use the requirements document as the base document. What is the base document used for testing? Requirements document. What is the base document that developers use? They are also using the same requirements document. So same requirements document is used for developing, and the independent validation and verification team will also pick up the same requirements and create test cases, and one by one they will verify. So that is how the testing happens. So let us look at what are all the skills required for testers. In fact, I told you that from the requirements, test cases will be created and then they will be executed one by one. So actually, there is something called a traceability matrix between the requirements and the test cases. It's a clean matrix, so that if you are able to see that, okay, these are all the test cases which pass, you can find out what is the requirement that is built, what is the requirement that is failing. So those type of traceability is there. In order to manage the test cases, in order to manage the testers, assigning test cases to each employee for all these things, each tester, all these things, there are tools available to manage the testing. So they are called test management tool. Testing will be done by people, but we have to manage the people and the test cases, requirements and all, and the metrics. What is the percentage of pass, percentage? So there are those things. So that is why there are test management tools. If you want to become a tester, if you want to get a job in the testing team, you must be aware of these tools. So test director is a very popular test management tool. BMC has Topaz as a test management tool. Microsoft Test Manager, Zapier, PractiTest, HipTest, TestRail. So these are all, each one is a tool. It's a software. So every testing team will be using one of these softwares. So very similar. Using these tools, you can create test cases, you can review test cases. So that will keep the record of who created, who reviewed it, and then this can be assigned to somebody to test it. So all these things can be done. The metrics will be what is the percentage of test cases pass. All these things can be automatically captured. So here I have given some 10 commercial products and 10 open source products. Some small companies, they cannot afford to use commercial products. They go with open source products which are free. So in the commercial side, you see PractiTest, Qualtrics, TestRail, Quiz, Quaqua, Rational Quality Manager, Micro Focus Silk Central, TestLink, QTest, TestCollab. These are all commercial testing products. So if you want to go for a training or certification in testing, you will be taught all these things. Better you get a certification in any one of these products so that you know what are the capabilities of these products. Similarly, open source, APM, Loadium, that is a load test management tool, Loadster, BlazeMeter, BugBug, QA Deputy, Wobico, Helix Team Hub. It is from a company called Perforce. So these are all some examples of test management systems, test management tools. So if you want to get a job, you will have to learn and get certified in any one or two products. So this shows some certifications available. ISTQB is an important certification. It's a very credible certification. So if you want to become a tester, then you can go and get certified tester in ISTQB. That is at the foundation level, that is at the acceptance testing level, and so on. there are several testing courses available in Udemy. Go and study one or two of them. Similarly, there are vSkill certified, QA Global Institute, Simply Learn, Test Automation University. So these are all some interesting certifications available. If you want to become a tester, you can go all these things.